Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
7:37 on Washington's Mall, WMAL, coming up at 8:05. Yeah, it's where Washington comes to talk, and Senator Mike Lee will be coming to talk at 8:05. I am Larry O'Connor alongside Brian Wilson.
We have on the line on the Newsmaker hotline, KT McFarland, Fox News national security analyst and host of FoxNews.com's DefCon 3 show, which can be seen at 2 p.m. on Wednesdays at live.foxnews.com. And today, making a special appearance at 9 a.m. on Fox News. How are you, KT?
I'm just great, thank you.
Hey, listen, there's a lot to talk about with regard to Benghazi, and we're going to hear from the Secretary of State today. But there's this story that came from the New York Times yesterday. Mm-hmm. Several Egyptian members of the squad of militants that lay bloody siege to an Algerian gas complex last week also took part in the deadly attack on the United States mission in Libya back in September 11th, says a senior Algerian official. Mm-hmm. So they're connected.
Totally. You know, a year and a half ago when Gaddafi was on the run, everybody was saying, where's Gaddafi? Where's Gaddafi? I didn't care where Gaddafi was. I figured somebody'd eventually find him. I was much more concerned with what happened to Gaddafi's weapons because he was, a weapons fanatic. He had caches and stockpiles all over Libya, including 20,000 shoulder-fired missiles, the kind that take down helicopters and civilian aircraft. And the problem is, we went after Gaddafi, but we never went after those weapons. And that's what's now showing up. They've shown up in the international arms bazaars in Yemen. They're showing up in the Al-Qaeda affiliate attack in Algeria. They've shown up in eastern Libya in the militias. And they're showing up in Syria with the rebels. They're showing up on the Gaza Strip. So, again, first you've got to figure out, I think, first do no harm. And what did we do when we toppled Gaddafi? Is we released a lot of weapons. Now, going forward, what does that mean for Syria? We sure better find out and know where those chemical weapons are.
Okay, so now the other side of that is, of course, the Secretary of State is finally going to talk about what she knows about Benghazi. What are the questions that you would like to see asked of the Secretary of State as she testifies today?
Okay, well, don't waste your time asking her about intelligence and failures before Benghazi. She's had 4 months to get some good answers for that. She will say, I take full responsibility, but she'll avoid taking any of the blame. And as far as I'm concerned, that train's left the station. Don't belabor that point. Ask her instead and use this opportunity, which is the last time she'll appear under oath in public as Secretary of State. The whole country, the whole world's watching, and ask her questions about the bigger Middle East policy. 2 years ago, that was a region that was relatively stable, calm. There was even some economic growth in countries like Egypt with 8% growth a year. There were dictators, but they were pro-American dictators, and everybody was at peace with Israel. Now, fast forward 2 years. What's happened? We've toppled dictator after dictator, and what's taken their place is either anti-American dictators or chaos. And we've seen these countries now talk about war with Israel, with abrogating peace treaties. What has happened in 2 years? The Bush administration screwed it up, too. And they screwed up Iraq, they screwed up Afghanistan, but the Obama administration, with their lead from behind light footprint, we're having real problems there as well. And I would ask her about those questions.
Well, and you to bring it back to Libya for a minute, KT, you had said that basically you're saying that Libya is a complete and total mess right now, and a very dangerous mess for the United States and our allies. This was touted as a success of the Obama administration and their handling. They certainly touted it that way during the campaign. Is it fair to ask Hillary Clinton today, what is the single biggest success of the first 4 years of the Obama foreign policy? What exactly did she achieve?
Yeah, well, she'll have some pat answer. I would be.
What's your answer?
I don't think they have a lot of successes to show for the Middle East. I guess you could always say it could have been worse. But that's like
4 more years. It could have been worse.
Could have been worse. I'd like to ask her, for example, why have we not punished those responsible for killing Americans and attacking American soil in Benghazi? We know where they are.
As the president promised.
Why haven't we? It's been 4 months now. And the other question I think that really concerns me going forward is, what plans have you guys made? You're leaving the region, right? You're leaving Afghanistan. We're going to end up shooting our way out of Afghanistan. We've left Iraq. America's repivoting to Asia. The perception is we're leaving the region, but what are we leaving behind? We are leaving tens of thousands of American civilians either as contractors or school teachers or Doctors Without Borders. We're leaving a lot of people behind who are very vulnerable. And what's our plan? How are we going to protect those people? Are we just going to let them maybe be taken hostage? Are we going to rescue them if they've been taken hostage? What's the plan going forward? And I don't think there are a lot of good answers, because to me, what you're going to start seeing a lot more of is attacks on Americans and hostage taking.
We're sending F-16s to Morsi. Did you see that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, our good pal, right?
Our good friend Morsi. We're sending him F-16s.
Well, are we bound by the treaty to do that? I mean, do we have are we able to say, you know what, we don't like this new guy in Egypt, so we're not going to send you these arms?
Well, my feeling about whether it's weapons sales or foreign assistance is I'm not the tooth fairy, okay? I mean, I don't believe you just give the stuff away. Or I am the tooth fairy. I want that tooth back. I want something in exchange for the money, in exchange for the goods. And we've had a long relationship with Egypt, for example, for 40 years, since my old boss, Henry Kissinger, put Egypt in the American orbit and out of the Soviet orbit. And there has been peace in the Middle East, Arab-Israeli peace, for the last 40 years. Now, if that's about to change, why are we continuing to support these groups? I mean, I would go to the Libyan government and say, we give you guys a lot of money.
Yeah.
By noon tomorrow, we want the people responsible for killing Americans and attacking American soil. And if you're unwilling or able to give us those, we're unwilling or unable to give you any aid.
Well, that would show some force and some
leadership.
Moxie, and leadership. KT McFarland, quickly, Benjamin Netanyahu, a very narrow victory for a third term. What does it say?
Well, you could one or the other. Either he's going to have to be less strong with regard to Iran, or he may have more options, because if he forms a coalition with the center. I've long thought two things. One, only Nixon goes to China, so only Netanyahu can really make a peace with the Palestinians. And two, that the Palestinian-Israeli peace is not the first piece in the puzzle, it's the last piece. You got to get Iran right, you got to get the rest right before the Palestinians and the Israelis will get it right.
That's why she's our expert.
KT McFarland, always a pleasure.